Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745, and if you're new here and you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and you should also find below a link to the Discord server so you can hang out with us. We talk about all kinds of things, you know, Arts of Iron, military history related. We play War Thunder. A few of us play Hearts of Iron 4 multiplayer times. And good way to find some people to play with. So you can check that Discord link out. Okay. We are currently producing 4 infantry and armored division, and we have fairly sufficient on some of the equipment here. Artillery hasn't been this bad this time. Let's see, economics. Okay, so don't do this, people. Don't do this unless you want to stop all useful trading. Yeah, I have a little bit of problems with this, but this is just too useful. We're going to go down that path. Okay, we need come on, go away. Okay, more bauxite. There we go. And yes. Okay, frontal attacks. Enables tactics. We like the enables blitzkrieg, enables breakthrough. I guess we're going to go with that. Over here, do we want to do equal spacing? Concentrated spacing. Do that. And can we come down here? Elastic defense, defense and depth. Recovery rate. We'll do elastic defense. Not letting us do that yet. Okay. A little bit frustrating. Yeah, we're going to sort of ignore that. Let's... No. Well, I guess we'll do this.
Bereit zum Ausrücken. Ausrücken.
Oh, that's already happened. I didn't know that it happened. Okay, yeah, I think it's useful to try to go into unassigned. I think I can only send 2. And yes, I hate this color. Wish I didn't have to go in and mess with us always. No, just okay, there we go. Guderian. We're going to give him Guderian. And then let's see if we can send volunteers. Guderian. Okay, good. You need to get a focus to continue autarky to get focuses that you need bonuses for synthetic. Yes, that is my sort of complaint with this. I want to get these, but why is our autarky? And I think this is just arbitrary, really wrecking my opinion with all of these nations that I would be trading with. I get the idea that Germany is trying not to trade and trying to do internal development. I get that. But why can't I trade in the meantime? That just seems unnecessary, and I don't have a good a good historical reason that is a requirement. So I'm not in favor of that, USA, man. Not in favor at all. And so we're going to keep trading. We are expanding some of our synthetic industry, obviously, and continue to do so. Okay, now we have to slow this way down because we're going to micromanage this. Okay, Guderian. Last time I think we helped them win the war. Do we pursue a northern strategy again and try to cut that off? Let's come down to here. One division's coming over to here. Now that we're here, yeah, that's the one I want to put in. Yeah, I agree, because obviously you don't get to trade with somebody you're at war with. So yeah, and because Germany did have a balance of trade issues. Most nations weren't overly interested in getting Reichsmarks. So they wanted to be paid in British pounds, and even say, somebody like Portugal or Greece or whoever Germany might be trading with, they would happily accept British pounds because they had, shall we say, been the gold standard of international currencies. The US dollar is definitely rising at this time. So yeah, so there's some currencies that just random nations would happily take. I don't know how strong the French franc was for that. US dollars were definitely on the rise. And so, but because of various things, and it wasn't, for the most part, it wasn't because, they're Nazis and we want to boycott the Nazis in 1936, because hell, they're doing the winter. Well, it's already past now, the Olympics, but they're doing the Olympics and whatnot. So it's just the various economic problems in the 20s and the early 30s that made Germany an unsure nation when it comes to a lot of that stuff. So, okay, now that we're here and we have this, let's see if we can, before we get too far into this, that would be somewhat helpful. Okay. Yep, we're going to do it even as it's reducing our motorization down. Yeah, we can put you to a higher commander. That could also be a bit of a help. There we go. Well, maybe a little faster, get to the front. No, I didn't want to put them on trains because I didn't want them to lose more organization than they're already down some. Okay, nationalized German army. Yeah, armor. Let's do war of movement. I want to make sure we get observations from Spain after August 36, so we could do that when we get there. So let's not miss that one this time. Oh, yeah, I don't. There has been several times that they've literally confiscated gold and silver coins in the U.S. And I do believe during this period they did confiscate the gold. And quite honestly, I don't know. We need more motorization, so let's push that. I don't know all of the details of that, and just what was on the gold standard and what was on the silver standard. So there's a whole history to it, and I'm not going to try to BS my way through that. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. Do we have? No, we don't have. We need to get some artillery. We need more artillery production and light infantry production. Weapons and heavy. Yeah. Oh, we're getting our motorized coming through. Now, I think I end up talking a lot about economies on this channel, it seems like. And this mod is definitely bringing out. Economies aren't a finite thing. Oh, the Portuguese has showed up. How nice. So, should gold and silver be the medium of exchange? And if you're listening to libertarians, they very much think so. but they're often looking back at, okay, we are going to go with this. Looking back at the 19th century, both in America and other places, when Mexico drove the Chinese economy. The Mexican silver dollar, the actual literal silver dollar, was at least sort of coastal China, one of the primary mediums of exchange. They were pulling so much silver out of Mexico, and you might not realize, in Shanghai and down in Canton down here. It was a major, and they would move truckloads of the stuff around for big purchases, major means of exchange because it was a trusted currency. Now, this wasn't paper money. This was silver dollars. And of course, various huge silver strikes, gold strikes in the U.S., in Nevada, places like that, up in Alaska. They were pulling so much gold out. And a lot of people want to go back to a gold standard. And one of the examples often used that back in 1936 or something, you could get a really nice men's suit for $20. They had, again, depending on what year, whatever, that would be like a $20 gold piece. Well, you can today get a really nice man's suit for an ounce of gold. Whatever the price of gold is, $1,000, let's just say right now. I don't keep up on it, but, okay, $1,000 suit. Yeah, okay, $20, $1,000. Okay, that's fine. And you can go, well, we should use gold and silver. Well, should we though? As a means of exchange. Now, I get inflation, I get all that. I know I'm going into an economics talk here, but gold and silver, much more so today than sometimes in the past, is a useful industrial metal in computers and things like that. And I know I don't know all the details, but it's useful in various high-end electronics and not just the desktop computer and whatnot. People in America used to be, and I'm sure somebody would still do it, point to Brazil. Their economy, they've gotten off oil and they do all this ethanol, fuel from corn and whatnot. Well, of course, now they're all screaming, Brazil's cutting down their forests. They're ruining the world's treasure of rainforest. We got to protect the rainforest in Brazil. They don't like Bolsonaro, or however you pronounce his name, because he's sort of Trump-like. Well, they blame, they cut all these fires. Look at these fires this last year, not this year, but last year in Brazil. Look at all these fires, blah, blah, blah. And you go, well, that's like it is every year in Brazil. So that's just sort of hate for him. But they are complaining that the rainforest is shrinking. And I'm not doubting the rainforest is shrinking. Okay. And so do you cut down the rainforest to not use oil? Do you, instead of feeding people with corn, do you put corn in your gas tank? Does the U.S. want to, and we are forced by law to use a percentage, and this comes from back in the 1970s with OPEC embargoing, and OPEC controlled much of the world's oil prices, embargoing oil. We forced oil companies to put a percentage of, and we have to tune our cars for them, a percentage of, alcohol fuel from corn or other sources here in the U.S. So it's stupid laws like that are continuing. Well, it's a renewable energy. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But do we want to feed people or do we want to feed the cars? You have to make these choices. And okay, so it's one thing if every married couple has gold rings on their fingers. That's sort of renewable, recyclable, whatnot gold that's often rather impure just because they want to make it stronger, if nothing else. So yeah, gold for jewelry, but jewelry's converted to money back to jewelry and back and forth often through history. But do you want to make your medium of exchange something that you want to do? In the automobiles they use silver and other things. So do you want to limit your industrial capacity for money or not? And I don't know that the gold or silver standard is because it's, yes, we're pulling more of it out of the ground, but it is still a finite resource, and we're not yet to Elon Musk. Robert Stats. Build the Bismarck. I don't know that we're going to be doing much naval this test playthrough. Yes, well, there's more silver than gold, absolutely, USA man, and it's quite true. You can look at a gold, anything that's gold that's been if pure is overstating it, but like a gold coin that's been buried for 1,000 years. You dig it up, and it looks like it was the day that it was buried. Where silver really corrodes out and doesn't look like it. Obviously, if you have gold coins in your pocket or whatever, they will wear. They're not indestructible, but gold is that sort of immutable element. I'm thinking the periodic table, not just metal, but it's so it doesn't change state. So there are reasons that gold is more desirable for some things. So yeah, we're still just looking at how well the mod is working generally, and not looking too deep into things like naval activity. Robert, get better with things, because I'm seriously considering World Ablaze as my replacement for Black Ice. Though I think Black Ice is still more popular because people have heard of it more. And so yeah, they have points with their situation. So if all currency is based upon how much gold or silver you have in your national treasuries, that is very good, very, very good for people who can save money, because it does it's going to have very strong buying power. I don't want to say that there's an inflation, because there's other factors going on there, but it will have very strong buying power for those who have it and can save it up. And it would drive things, in my opinion, back to, you want a really nice steak meal not at a super fancy restaurant, but at an average sort of restaurant. Hey, that's 20 cents, and yet tip your waiter a penny or two, instead of $20 or whatever. And so, yeah, we could drive currencies the opposite direction. But I don't, because so much is and it goes back to before, but so much is influenced by socialism. And you got to remember, when Karl Marx is writing, Marx and Engels are writing, You also have a lot of people believing in Malthus, and Malthus is the person who really promoted the idea that there's going to be scarcity, overpopulation in the world. People are going to starve. People are going to fight just over food, wars over food, and developed all these plans, charts, and whatnot. And he's entirely wrong. Malthus has been proven, because the world's population is hugely over Malthus, is massively over his maximum population, and I would say the U.S. territory, if it were put into moderately effective food production, it could feed the world right now. It's just getting the food to wherever would be difficult. So the world itself with modern food is not the problem in the world, growing of it. Maybe getting it to underdeveloped areas who don't have nice railways and whatnot systems, and their local economy. So yes, there are people hungry in this world. I'm not trying to say there aren't, but food isn't the humanity's problem. So Malthus was wrong. Socialists see economies as that rich person has lots more money that's denying it to somebody else, because they see economies as a finite pie, sort of like land ownership, and a lot of it is still based on, or some of the viewpoint is on land ownership. We can see down here the Himalayas are eroding and slowly creating more land, but then the ocean washes it away, and there's Carnot and the Dutch. We can talk about how they've filled in some of this area here and created land, but mostly there's some of the bigger exceptions, but mostly land is a finite resource. Okay, so that there are finite resources like that. And like gold is a finite resource, and we're probably not going to find huge new strikes somewhere. I mean, there may not that they're going to open up new mines and it's going to, start pulling out significant amounts of gold. I'm not saying gold mining is going away, but we're probably not going to hear about the super new gold fields somewhere in India that's going to flood the world market with gold, like they when coming into the Americas at various stages. First with just getting the gold that was already above ground that the Incas and the Aztecs and whatnot had previously mined, to opening up the mines. We're probably not going to be seeing things like that, at least anytime in the near future. So, but they'll continue, like in South Africa, continuing to mine deeper, more efficiently. So it's going to continue to add gold to the pie, but it is somewhat finite. But human economic activities, because just like I'm saying, we can grow crops better. We can, you do economic activities that grow economies. And it's not just production of things, toasters or cars or whatever. We can do what I'm doing. That's an economic activity here, entertaining people that can grow things. So just because Bill Gates has a lot of money doesn't mean that he's denying it to somebody else. And even if he had lots and lots of gold, in a way, but in a way, no, because your gold just can purchase more stuff. Because unless he's buying money for charity, he's not going to be purchasing more and more dinners for people. So, economies are that way. And so I don't know what the answer is for should there be a limited physical item that we base our transaction mediums around? Because that's what it is the idea that if I want something, if I want to, let's keep it on food here. If I want to whether it's go to fast food or when COVID goes away or whatever, go sit down in a restaurant. When I want to go into the restaurant, I don't want to have to carry something with me and go, hey, restaurant owner, I've got this really nice blanket here that I made. Can I trade this blanket for 10 meals? You're going to remember that, because I spent a lot of time hand weaving this blanket. You're going to remember, you can mark it off on a list or on a thing, that you owe me 10 meals. And you're going to go, yeah, I guess I could use another blanket. I'll give you 10 meals for that blanket, And so, and when you're looking at literal agrarian based, like medieval economies, that's how a lot of them literally worked. They did not have money. There was money in existence, but because I've done a lot of, in years past, research in the 18th century, the Highlands of Scotland. Most of the economy did not run on anything that we would hardly consider money. Yes, I think they had some levels of copper coins. But mostly what people did is if they got silver, they went to somebody, like they got a silver coin or 3 or 4. They went to somebody and they had them melted down and turned into buttons, and used those that could afford it, which was probably less than half of the people living in the Highlands. Less than half could have some silver buttons on their clothes. And so they would melt the silver down into buttons of different sizes and weights, whether for, buttons on a jacket or, main buttons on the jacket or cuff buttons or whatnot, and they would mount them onto their clothes, and then they would wear the silver. And if ever they needed to spend that money, they would simply cut that button off their clothes. So this wasn't like, hey, I'm going to go spend money at the local market to buy something, I'm going to cut this off my clothes. This is sort of like, because they didn't have a banking system, and instead of burying it under the floor of their house, which they probably also did some of that too, but they would just literally wear it because they were also status conscious, and having silver buttons was a thing. So they would convert this into their money into clothing objects. And so, but there was wealth, and it was in cattle. Sheep was a thing, but not as big a thing as it becomes later on. And this is the 1740s, 1750s. This isn't medieval. So I know the medieval stuff, and you see Robin Hood with all those coins. Yeah, a lot of people were showing up paying their taxes in something other than coinage. And they were paying it in goods, sometimes services. And so these economies are somewhat finite because they're based upon human or animal labor. There's no steam engine. There's no, any sort of electrical engines. So if you wanted your bread for the day, someone in your family, most likely a woman, needed to literally sit for a couple of hours every day to grind your corn to make your corn, which doesn't mean necessarily corn in the modern sense. Corn is just grain, and normally wheat, but grind that bread every day with human labor. Now, some places, and they can chart them because of the Doomsday Book and whatnot, particularly in Britain, did have water mills. I think they had very, very, very few, if any, windmills, but water mills to get your corn ground. So those did exist, but probably less than a quarter of the population had routine access to them. So you literally had to spend a few hours with, stones going back and forth every day, a woman grinding your corn if you wanted to eat that day. And you didn't want to grind too much of it because it would go bad as flour quicker. So it was the grind. The daily grind was a literal thing. And so if your economic activity is based on human or animal labor, it's going to be a finite thing. Now we have so much machinery. It's no longer a finite thing. So old models of economies, whether we're talking socialism, and I know this has gone into a long economic talk, but it's a thing that upsets me or gets me going. Or if we're talking about like the libertarians, oh, gold standard, silver standard, inflation. And yeah, there can be all kinds of inflation. Trust me, I understand that, whether we're looking at Germany just before this, Germany 1932 or so, or Zimbabwe in the very recent past. And national government debts are also an issue. That is a concern. So not that the sort of libertarian viewpoint isn't entirely wrong, but it's discounting how economies have changed since the 19th century. In the medieval ages, food was one of the most absolutely USA, man. And it is still, it's still a critical element in parts of the world. But I would, and American aid, USAID, destroys economies. When they send in food relief to Somalia, they put all the local farmers out of work. Well, they might have been out of work sort of anyways because there was a drought. But when they dump in food into Haiti, they destroy the local economy, the local food growing economy, because they go out because there's cheaper or free food brought in because of an earthquake. So people go out of business. But should there be peasants barely doing subsistence farming in the modern era? No, I don't think so. That part of the world culture needs to go away. But what they need to do is build proper roads, railroads, ports, and all that stuff to be able to move food efficiently around the world. And it just needs, yes, there still can and should be local agricultural activities, but you need to move away from, shall we use a term, and I know it's a bit of a loaded term, but peasant economies need to disappear. The idea of, I need to go out there with hand tools, and not because, hey, I'm an urban gardener or I like to garden like my mother loved to garden. Yeah, that's great. And even if you want to grow, a couple of acres of vegetables or something, great on you if you want to do it all hand done. And I haven't personally done farming living history, but if you want to create some living history farms somewhere in Europe that literally function like the medieval farms, great. That should exist as an example of what happened in the past, not what is happening today as a routine. And so these societies in other parts of the world need to change, and changing them overnight would be a bad thing. It would be traumatic and chaos, but changing them over time would be a good thing. So yeah. So let's continue. We're getting ready to actually fight here once these guys get up to the border with them. Okay. Yes, I see the Portuguese are coming, but we're going to put these two divisions attacking here. Hopefully the Spanish and or the Portuguese will decide to join in on the fight. I see the Italians down here. Okay, we're not going to neglect our, well, again, I keep clicking there, but okay, we're a little low on light tanks. We're still some low on motorization. Hopefully they're putting the motorization to these divisions and tanks here. But let's... And that for once we get. The government is in a budget deficit. It is much harder to justify making your railroads better because you lack the money to do that. Well, government mismanagement is government mismanagement. And infrastructure needs to be managed, not necessarily paid for and done by, but needs to be managed by the government, because you don't need 3 companies building roads between, two cities, 2 sets of highways, 2 sets of railways between Zaragoza and Bilbao. No, you need one good set of railways and one good set of highways. So they need to manage it. Now, if you want to do it private industry, fine. If you want to do it government paid for, fine. There's good reasons for each of those to happen. So, you know, we could argue private versus public. I'm not talking about the actual construction company, but who's paying for it. And so, yeah, I think it's something that governments should be willing to go into debt for, but it should be more managed and defined. Often in the U.S., they sell government bonds, often city or state bonds, that specifically pay for a particular infrastructure project and have the idea that, well, we build these bridges, across whatever river this is, say, because, a modern bridge across this river, and we'll pay it off over 20 years instead of waiting and saving for 20 years to get the money. You build it now so that you have more economic activity, so you can collect more tax money, and people's lives get better sooner, but you pay it off over 20 years, and you make rational decisions like that and go into debt. Okay, one of the following must be true. National. Oh, we need wooden panzers first. Okay, I'm just a little paranoid about that. Well, this is getting needed army experience. And we now have BF 110s, which I'm going to... Last time I did sort of skip... Well, no, I think I'm going to do this again. I'm going to skip this B1 model. We're going to jump from B1, or we're going to jump from the HE 51 to the D1, since we're going to immediately start researching that. The hope is that we continue to efficiently build up a bunch of these guys as sort of reserve aircraft, and then jump over to better aircraft. Well, how long this is taking? I'm going to up the speed. Come on, National Spain, why don't you throw in a couple of divisions in here? We could actually do good. Now, see, I don't know what. I know they've changed some of the AIs for Spain, but why is it that the Portuguese and us want to attack, but the Spanish nationalists and the Italians don't? Okay, support equipment. Well, no. What there was Springfield Armory, which was a government armory that did manufacture rifles and possibly other stuff. There is a modern company called Springfield Armory that has no real connection to the original Springfield Armory. There's numbers of years that there's no connection. They just started a company and named it after the old thing, basically. But it was a government armory that existed until the end of World War II and a little bit beyond that, and then gets shut down. To the best of my knowledge, it never made firearms to be sold. Not that, when the government surplused out firearms, yeah, those were sold, but they were simply making it for the U.S. government, and it was made to make sure that there was an armory that manufactured weapons for the U.S. government. There was also a U.S. Government owned at this time. Not exactly sure when it started, but a torpedo manufactory set up by the government, because a lot of that, especially with the torpedoes, were considered the internal workings were considered secret. And so during peacetime, they were the only people making torpedoes. Now, once World War II gets kicked off, they help other companies make either components or full torpedoes for the U.S. So there was limited production by government-owned entities. I think the U.S. government still owns some shipyards, naval shipyards that actually build ships. That I'm pretty sure they still do, and they did back then, as opposed to commercial shipyards. But again, those things are only in production for U.S. Armed Forces consumption, not as a government-owned business that sold either to the public or to other nations. To the best of my knowledge, they weren't as a direct sales surplus or something, sure, but not as a direct sales. Okay, well, now why aren't we getting this? It's after. Okay, one of the following was. Okay, national at peace. Okay, so this is going to happen after the war, but for some reason last time this didn't work for me. Okay, well, we got the tank doctrine stuff. Research. Let's come back over here. Yeah, let's do this. Oh. Okay, well, how are we doing for our resources? Okay, just a little down on rubber, and we've got too much iron coming in, it looks like. There we go. Let's actually build more civil factories. That's a bunch, but let's do that. Let's come down here. Oh, we can't add. Okay, well, we can't. And we can add units. I keep clicking this. I got to click over here first. Okay, more motorized, more light tanks because we're using them up. Okay.
Zuhören!
It was a truck, a very reliable,
Zuhören!
basic truck, the Opel Blitz. sort of the most common German truck, not the only one or anything like that, but far from it. There was a bunch of different trucks. Hey, Official Brody, how you doing? Yeah, just because of all the problems I was having, I don't want to blame anybody else, invading France, that I decided, instead of just going back a year or two and trying to fix some of the production and order of battle issues that I was having. Well, the Portuguese still just attacking. I thought the Italians might have. So I decided to, and they have a new version of the mod out, which I knew already. It's been out for a while. Figured I'd just go over to that. Infantry division, regrouping division, recovery rate. Attrition down. Well, you know, let's see. That's why I wanted to push so hard. Yeah, I really want to like this mod. I really want this mod to be a possible replacement for Black Ice, but this thing here is really bugging me because I gotta do IG. This is why I did autarky last time, because I wanted to get to IG Farben so that I could get to IG Farben, because I wanted to be able to do research speed and synthetic resource and refinery construction speed, and they're blocking all that. Now I don't know. Oh yeah, Krupp is still around. One of the guys that hangs out around here, especially for War Thunder, worked for a while for Krupp. Industrial research speed, that would be nice, I guess. Yeah, we'll do that. Why would the big armaments industry, or steel industry, or whatever you want to call it, go out of business? Okay, good. Well, that may get things moving. Did last time. Okay. Continental Army military factories, that would be nice. Where I shot a bond infrastructure. I guess we just go with this damn fatigue stuff. I don't know. Okay, well, before they can get too organized, let's attack. Oh good, now you guys are joining in the attack. Very nice. Very nice, this is good. Yes, this time I remembered. What do we need more of? Well, we're slightly producing some of this more than we're using up. So it looks. Yeah, let's create, just thinking about this here, let's, what do we want to do? 60 fighters maybe, and 60 ground attack. See if we can send those down to Spain once we get those created and deployed. Oh, well, now we need more bauxite. Oh. Okay, well. Do we really need all of that? I don't know. Because I know I expand the factories. But we're not. Oh, but we're. Well, okay. Oh, we can actually. Let's see. Let's reduce this down. But we have more than aluminum that we need, so I don't know that we need more bauxite. That's a little bit of the problem. Could you produce more? Yeah, we do want to do that. Hello, Naxel. I guess we're going to call you. Want to become fan? Oh no, it's one of these things. Bauxite. It is a mineral that is used to produce aluminum. It's about the quickest thing. It's often found like in sand, I think. Maybe somebody's around here that's... Yeah, I think it's a bot there, and I think it's just going around and looking at live Twitch sites and sending that out. Okay, standard industries improved. Growth, construction speed. Got a lot of these things here. We'll do this next because we need rubber. Okay, well, you defend. You move fast to there. You superiors in the Soviet Union. Yes, get rid of all your leaders. You attack there just to stop them coming to here before we defeat them. Hindenburg incident, close call. Okay, so we're going to keep having Zeppelins around, I guess. Okay, no, this attack wasn't meant to succeed, and it did. Very nice. Okay, you support that. Okay, that succeeded to there. You got to there.
Achtung! Achtung!
See if an attack upon the city will work. It looks like we're getting follow-up support. That's nice. We want to cut off Barcelona supply here. Okay, well, we're going to end this episode. Not the live stream, everyone. We're going to keep going with that. But for those watching on YouTube, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already and you made it this far, please subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me over on Twitch if you like. Either way, and I love hearing your comments, so please post them below. See you next time for more, yes, more Hearts of Iron.